We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com.
Christian S. has questions. We gave Christian some speaker recommendations when he wanted to upgrade from his HTIB speakers.
Home theater in a box.
Oh, yeah. Look at me reading too fast. Home theater in a box speakers. Yeah, I don't use that acronym. He was initially going to go with the Pioneer Andrew Jones speakers, which is a common recommendation to replace such home theater in a box speakers. But he decided to spend a bit more for the EMP Tek R5BI speakers instead. And he loves them.
Yay.
He thinks they're the perfect size and they look and sound great. I love to hear that. He says thanks because he never would have known about EMP Tek without hearing about them from AVRant. How about that?
That's what we're here for, man.
Man, I love it when people are excited about their man. When you get a new piece of electronic speaker and you like how it even looks and everything about it, and you're just like, yes, nailed it. I love that. Feels good. He set them up and ran YPAO, so that's a Yamaha receiver.
That's right.
The auto setup selected a crossover at 160 hertz. This seems a bit high, doesn't it? Should he adjust some things and then run YPAO again? If so, what should he adjust?
So it does seem a little bit high, you know, if we were going just by the capabilities of the speakers. So generally what's going on with any of these auto setup programs, and by and large, we don't like letting them set the crossovers because it's not Odyssey doing it, it's not Dirac doing it, it's the manufacturer of the receiver. For whatever reason, that's the way things are arranged. The measurements are provided by whoever. I mean, in the case of YPAO, it's Yamaha in both cases. But you know, with any of these other auto setup programs, they provide the measurements and the data, but then the manufacturers decide what they want to do with that. Now, normally what they're looking for is they're measuring the response of the speaker because it's just playing a very fast sweep. It sounds like a chirp, but it's playing a very fast sweep.
Right.
And when the measurement comes
kind
back,
of a whoop.
whoop, whoop, whoop. Or sometimes it's going the other way down from the top down. But it's this kind of chirping, whooping sound. So what's going on there is when it makes that measurement, you could see a graph of that measurement. Ideally, it would be a flat line. But it never is. And at some point, the speaker is going to be 3 decibels quieter, 6 decibels quieter, 9, 12, whatever the threshold they've decided upon. At some point, it's going to be that many decibels quieter than the average output level. Normally, I think they go with like 6 or 9. That seems to be what they sort of look for. So what they're looking for is some point below 250 hertz, there's going to be a dip, or it's going to start to roll off. And once it reaches whatever threshold they've decided, they go, all right, that's where we're going to set the crossover. And in your case, for whatever reason, it measured some kind of dip at about 160 hertz that reached that threshold.
Could that be the room?
It could very much be the room.
So that's a room frequency.
It could also, because 160 hertz is right around where very often that's a floor bounce. Very often that's a reflection off the back wall, hitting the back wall and coming back to the microphone. Very often it's hitting the back of the chair and coming back to the microphone.
So what distance is 160 hertz at the speed of sound, or what?
Let me work that out.
Come on, do that in your head real fast.
About a foot and a half.
I'll sing the Jeopardy theme.
2 feet, 4 feet. You're somewhere in the range of 6 feet-ish.
6 feet-ish. See, now that's a common distance that's easy to find in living rooms.
Somewhere in that range, yeah. I mean, it could be ceiling bounce, all type of things. So chances are what happened there is you got some kind of a bounce off of a floor, a ceiling, a wall, whatever it is, that happened to cancel out at that frequency at the microphone. Now, if you move the microphone, that will change.
Up or down might be a good thing to try.
That's right. Yeah. Particularly if you happen to set the microphone, like what a lot of people do, they're like, I don't really want to pull up my tripod or my mic stand. I'm just going to put the microphone on the back of my chair. Right?
That's very different than where your head is.
Yeah, a lot of people, but because it seems convenient, but that can give you anomalous readings like this.
Do that tripod trick.
Yeah, so definitely have the microphone on a tripod. Try adjusting, because most of this is set by the very first measurement. You're thinking, YPAO told me to measure in 3 or 6 different places. Why didn't this work out? Almost always they only go by that first measurement. So really, I mean, if you want to go nuts and completely acoustically treat your room and all that, then okay, that would also change these results most likely. But
Absolutely, it would.
by far the easiest thing to do here is to try adjusting the position of the microphone.
Also, moving your speakers back
Yep.
or bringing them forward a bit,
or their height,
even
a little higher, a
left,
little
right.
lower.
This is going to be some little null.
Yeah,
probably.
But honestly, even if you always get this result or something close to it, there's still nothing wrong with manually adjusting that crossover to where you want it to be. We would recommend probably 80 hertz, 90 hertz, 100 hertz, 120 hertz. All of those are fine. 160 is a little bit high and shouldn't be necessary because if you had speakers that honestly do start to roll off at 250 hertz or something like that, then maybe this is the case. But with these EMP Tek speakers, that's not the case. They're capable of playing lower than that. So yes, it does seem a little bit high, but you know what? If 100 hertz, 120 hertz works out nicely, sounds good to your ears most of all, right?
Yeah.
The transition from the speaker to the subwoofer sounds nice and smooth, and you have difficulty telling where the speaker ends and the subwoofer begins, then you're done. Don't worry about what the auto
In
setup
the end,
says.
you don't have to adapt your brain to YPAO.
No.
It's okay to put your own little flavor on it. And just a weird side thought: has anybody run any of these things like YPAO with like putting a friend on the couch and set the microphone on their head?
That's a really non-optimal idea.
I just want to see what it would do.
Yeah,
just like put myself there and set it on top of my head.
You get a different result every time you ran it because people cannot actually sit that still, and they cannot prevent their bodies from making some noises as they breathe and whatnot. So that is not the optimal way.
Just kind of want to try it though. I don't know. I'm just curious. See what it does. Anyway, so Christian, he didn't change his surround speakers at all, and yet his surround effects seem to sound way better now. And his question is, how? Why?
So actually an interesting thing is, in any of these surround modes, whether they're a fully discrete surround mode like Dolby Digital or fully lossless Dolby True HD, DTS HD Master Audio, or if it's an up mixer, a Dolby Pro Logic 2 or DTS Neural X or whatever the heck you're using, there's a surprising amount of the surround effects mixed into the front left and right speakers.
Sure there is, yeah.
Right?
Also, if those front speakers are just that much better, and there's some, you now no longer have certain distortions that are happening in the room from crappier speakers, your brain is going to all of a sudden hear things that it was distracted from. So you're going to hear things better. You're going to hear things better out of the speakers that might have been there before, but you couldn't hear them as well because the other speakers weren't doing what they should do.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of the surround effects, they're being played by your surround speakers. I'm not saying they're not playing them, but some of the sound of that surround effect is coming from the front left and right speakers as well. That's right. So it's kind of rare actually to have a sound hard mixed into one speaker and one speaker only, with no blending, no bleed over whatsoever into any other speaker. That's kind of a rarity. Mixers don't tend to do that.
I swear it happens at football games. I'll be watching football games, and there's always that one dude making some weird noise behind my couch. Woo!
But like one interesting thing is, like, if you listen to a recording of a TV show on headphones, and you just remove one headphone, take out one earbud and only listen to the other side, when someone walks way over to the left side of the screen and their voice follows them, you'll still hear it in the right earphone. It'll sound echoey and distant and delayed,
quieter, but
you'll still hear, even when they're way over to the left, you still hear the voice a little bit in that right speaker. So that's kind of what's going on.
That's a big part.
That would explain why your surround effects, even though you didn't change your surround speakers, there's still a lot of sound coming out of those front left right.
This is why it's so much fun to get new speakers.
Yeah.
The magic happens.
And it's why the front left right are the most important. Tom and I will disagree to our dying breath with all the people who say the center speaker is the most important speaker in the entire system. It's a tremendously important speaker when it's there because it's handling so much of what's important to the sound, but the front left and right speakers are the most important. You can't get rid of them. You can't.
I'll tell you what's crazy. When I upgraded from a receiver that came from the year 2000, there was a 5.1 Dolby AC3, I guess what they called it back then.
Sure.
But it was 5.1 surround. And I upgraded to a newer Yamaha receiver with YPAO. The same speakers, my center channel speaker, I could hear everything better. It was the strangest effect. And I guess that's YPAO, but I swear the vocals were clearer and louder. I don't know how much of that was my brain, but I was shocked. And in fact, I turned the center down manually because I thought that's too loud, too clear. And now I've creeped it back up over time to where YPAO wanted it to be in the first place. interesting effect.
Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.